It was raining heavily when pilots of Air India Express special flight IX-1344 from Dubai tried to land in Kozhikode. After circling for a while, the pilots chose runway 10 to land. The plane touched down but could not stop before the runway ran out. There were 190 people on board. The plane skidded off Karipur's Tabletop Runway. 18 people died, including the pilots. So how safe are tabletop runways? We decode all-weather landing at Indian airports.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the News Unlocked. Over the next half hour, we're going to take a closer look at what has been the big fallout of that terrible tragedy in Kozhikode, the air crash. Today we're going to look at the all-weather runways in India. Are they technically equipped? Are tabletop runways like those in Kozhikode particularly more dangerous in bad weather? Have all possible safety measures been adhered to, or have some reports been actually ignored? Our focus is the Air India Express, which, remember, crashed at Kozhikode Airport on Friday. 18 people, including the two pilots, lost their lives. The plane broke into two and thankfully did not catch fire, else the casualties could have been much higher. Now that the black box has been retrieved, efforts are on to find out what exactly happened moments before the crash. Did it happen because of the bad weather and low visibility? Was there a technical glitch? Let's take a look at this special report as to what happened to Air India Express.
August 7th, Kozhikode Airport. Captain Deepak Vasant Sathe and his co-pilot Akhilesh Kumar circled the airport not once but twice. And due to the bad weather and low visibility, Captain D.V. Sathe radioed the control tower to switch runways.
20, retard.
In what was its second attempt, the ill-fated Air India Express flight IX-1344 VTAXH touched down on runway 10 of Kozhikode Airport at 7:40 p.m.
A tailwind landing on a wet runway is one of the most dangerous things that you can have. And on top of that, the runway 10 has got a very steep downslope from 1/3 of the runway.
The aircraft overshot the runway, fell into a valley 35 feet below, splitting the fuselage, killing 18 people and injuring many others. There were reports of an Indigo ATR aircraft from Bengaluru having faced difficulty when it landed on runway 10 about 1 hour 43 minutes before the Air India Express from Dubai.
If I put the blame, I put it in the lap of the Civil Aviation Minister. Because Air India reports to him, Airport Authority reports to him, DGCA reports to him. If the Airport Authority at Calicut was not working as per car, why did not the DGCA cancel its license on the spot? What's the point of complaining and issuing show cause notice? It's a matter of human lives.
However, the Civil Aviation Minister rubbished the allegations about sufficient runway and safety area not being available, and that the Ministry of Civil Aviation having not approved a proposal to install engineered materials arrestor system.
It was a full flight. So there was no payload restricted. So it was a full flight and there was a tailwind. And the runway was also wet. So all these, the plane needs more running area to come to a stop. Because as per the guidelines of pilots, as they are supposed to know, that on this 1,500 is estimated on a dry, under dry conditions. But when you have rains and other things, naturally they will have to go beyond. So that area was not available.
DGCA Chief Arun Kumar too has said that Air India Express plane had made a late touchdown, even though the runway was long enough for a bigger aircraft.
जो टचडाउन हुआ है लेट टचडाउन हुआ है बिकॉज ये लगभग 9,000 फीट का रनवे है और 2700 मीटर का रनवे है एक्चुअली। 2700 मीटर लगभग 9000 फीट के करीब बनता है और जो शुरुआती सूचना आई है उसके हिसाब से 3000 फीट के बाद टचडाउन हुआ है, तो जिसको हम लेट टचडाउन कहते हैं।
All eyes are now on the data from the black box, which has been retrieved and brought to DGCA lab in Delhi. The DGCA has also decided to rope in Boeing, the maker of the aircraft, to identify a possible snag.
Now, it is likely that the aircraft landed on the runway a good 1 kilometer or even over that as far as the length of the runway is concerned in bad weather conditions. Now, this is an aspect that the probe will look into because a late touchdown on a wet runway is likely to impact the braking action of an aircraft. Polami Saha in Delhi for India Today.
Now remember, the Kozhikode airport mishap is the first major accident since the 2010 crash at Mangaluru airport. That also involved a tabletop runway. Friday's accident therefore has put the spotlight back on the safety measures, especially at airports with tabletop runways. Were warnings ignored? Take a look.
The Kozhikode airport mishap brought back memories of 2010 crash at Mangaluru's Tabletop airport that left 158 passengers dead. In both instances, Air India Express pilots had overshot tabletop runways and the flights were coming from Dubai. Kozhikode Airport's runway is surrounded by deep gorges on both sides, making landing a tricky task because there is not a margin if a plane were to overshoot the runway. Tabletop runways are generally carved out of hilltops and the margin of error during landing is extremely narrow. Safety concerns were raised about Kozhikode Airport at least on 2 occasions in the past. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation had issued show cause notice to the Kozhikode Airport, citing safety violations in July last year. The DGCA in its inspection found excessive rubber deposit, water stagnation and cracks on runway.
डीजीसीए ने 2015 में भी और पहले भी सवाल उठाए थे, लेकिन 2019 में जो उनकी शंकाएं थी उन सब का निस्सरण कर दिया गया था, सारी शंकाएं दूर कर दी गई थी। डीजीसीए ने उसके बाद कोड ई मतलब वाइड बॉडीड एयरक्राफ्ट की परमिशन दे दी थी और उसके बाद जंबो जेट्स भी एयर इंडिया के और अन्य एयरलाइंस के वहां लैंड कर रहे थे।
Another alarm bell was sounded around 9 years ago by air safety expert Captain Mohan Ranganathan, who was then part of Civil Aviation Safety Advisory Committee. Ranganathan wrote to the Civil Aviation Ministry saying Kozhikode Airport was not safe for landing.
Way back in 2013, we were 5 of us who were pointing out very serious deficiencies. We were all removed from the council because they didn't like the truth. They only wanted people to sign on a dotted line.
Apart from Kozhikode and Bengaluru, there are 4 other tabletop airports in India. The Lengpui Airport in Mizoram, Pakyong Airport in Sikkim, Shimla and Kullu in Himachal Pradesh. Friday's accident could force a relook at the safety measures at all these airports. Bureau Report, India Today.
So how hazardous are tabletop airports, especially when the weather turns bad as it did that night in Kozhikode? Captain Mohan Ranganathan, who was part of that committee that looked at that, at the need to install safety devices, joins us, air safety expert. Also Captain A.D. Manik, Managing Trustee and Chief Advisor of the Skyline Aviation Club is with us. Appreciate both of you joining us. I want to come to you, Captain Mohan Ranganathan first, because you had in your note in 2011 said particularly about flight landings at Kozhikode, in tailwind condition in rain, you are endangering the lives of all on board, especially in wet conditions. You want to explain what was the reaction to that report of yours? How did people respond to it?
Rajdeep, I never got any response.
You never got any response? No bureaucrats, no one responded to you, DGCA, no one responded at all?
Absolutely no response. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
In fact, when I had no response, I sent a copy of that letter to my uncle, Justice V.R. Krishnaiyer, who wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. And I just want to read one line from that letter which he wrote.
Please do.
He said, "Do have the matter thoroughly examined. Every Indian life lost is a grave distress which no compensation can redress. In the name of God and humanity, I plead with you to have the matter of Calicut Airport carefully examined and all measures taken to make the airport safe." He got a reply from Mr. Vayala Ravi, who was the minister, saying that every point that is being addressed, they will take it up and ensure that it is done. And what I said in 2011, lives are lost today. So who is accountable? It's the ministry.
And did Krishnaiyer, did Justice V.K. Krishnaiyer get any response from the Manmohan Singh government? You said Vayala Ravi responded, but did
saying
anyone...
that they will address everything.
Sorry, they said?
They will correct all the deficiencies and make it a safe airport.
And nothing was corrected in the end?
No.
Do you believe that the problem is particular only to Kozhikode, or do you believe the problem exists across tabletop runways, particularly because if the runway is not of a particular length, then there is a danger of the pilot overshooting?
Definitely Mangalore and Kozhikode are very dangerous in rain. They may be okay in dry conditions, but when it's wet, it's very bad. Though they claim that they have removed the rubber, when I did the inspection, now I read about the audit report saying excessive rubber deposits in Kozhikode. The problem is it is not a flat runway. It's almost an inverted V runway. So aircraft landing on runway 28, and when they started using the wide body aircrafts, they leave a lot of rubber deposits. You see, the runways are not designed not only to drain the fluid, it is also supposed to breathe and drain the fluid. It's supposed to drain it on the surface. But if all the porous structure is covered with rubber, it just makes it a flat, sealed area. And you see, technically, the landing distance required for the weight that that aircraft would have had would have been about 2,800 meters. Runway is only 2,700 meters. Now, but if you're giving a compensation for both reverses working, it's about 2,000 meters of runway required. Now, if you account for a late touchdown, you don't have any margin, absolutely no margin, because all the way from 3,000 feet from the beginning, it's a steep downslope. And even though the airport authority claims they've given a 240-meter runway and safety area, they don't have it. They have to reduce the runway, because if you look at the AIP, that Aeronautical Information publication, which is the Bible, they have put the runway strip at the wrong. So you have to have 300 meters clear safety area on both ends.
And
so
you're telling me neither Kozhikode or Mangalore has that?
No, they don't have that.
So even Mangalore after the 2010 crash still doesn't have that, and Kozhikode, according to you, has not had it at all, correct?
No, no.
Okay, so that in a sense may be part of the problem with these two airports. Captain A.D. Manik, you want to tell us what is your belief that these tabletop airports, do you believe there is something fundamentally, intrinsically, if the runways are not long enough, extremely dangerous if anything goes wrong, particularly runway 10 in this instance, which is manual, unlike runway 28 in Kozhikode, which had an ILS system?
Yes, sir. This is an unfortunate situation and accident, what is happening in our country. Very unfortunate to say. But there are a number of factors involved into what actually happened. As an aviation expert, I would like to just say a few inputs, like is one incident or one accident, but a number of factors are involved into it. As an expert, I found that more than 6 reasons are there to make to happen such kind of accident. It's first of all it goes with the geographical situations, then the physiological factor, the runway length, the weather, the aircraft operations. Now we are at such a situation, at such a time which I am commenting. It's too early to say anything about. Still, the investigation is pending. It's too early to say and comment anything on this situation. But we need to improve our infrastructure. That is what I would like to stress upon it, because Airport Authority of India, what we have been maintaining all airports, we require to reconsider the fact. This is not the first time it happened in India, but a number of times it's happened. So we have to reconsider the fact and regenerate the energy and go to the past fact and look for the future, what we can do the best, sir.
Can I just take that to you again, Captain Ranganathan, that, let's look at these tabletop airports across the country. There's Shimla, there are airports in Mizoram, there are airports, Kozhikode, Mangalore, of course, the two more prominent ones. Is your sense, what is the option? Is there an option that in your view that is there to such airports? Or, because there must be a limit on the length of a runway in such airports.
See, what is important is that the length of the airport has to be controlled. Like, you cannot compromise on the safety features. Like Kozhikode and Mangalore do not have the mandatory 150 meters on either side, 155 meters on either side of the center line. They have only 75 meters. And when you have that, you're supposed to have mitigation measures like maximum crosswind limits. I have never seen a DGCA note on the license to say that that's the maximum, because airlines do not want them to lay down any restrictions on that. You see, even though airlines tell you that their safety is paramount, the fact that they were operating, when we first inspected Calicut, what the DGCA and Airport Authority showed as runway and safety area was a drop of 1.5 meters at the end of the runway, exactly at the end. It was a drop of 1.5 meters. And it went all the way up to the concrete pillars holding the islands, which caused the crash in Mangalore. So, they just do the paperwork. So people who have done the audit for that airport, when I went, I found that there was absolutely no runway and safety area. See, it is not just a safety area. At the end of both the runways, you need a 60-meter strip. And mandatory is 90 meters of race up, but recommended for a place like Calicut or Mangalore, you should have 240. So you must have clear space. And if you have to reduce, there is no space to, unless you reduce the runway length.
But let's be honest, across the world, Captain Ranganathan, there are tabletop airports across the world. So, is the problem with tabletop airports per se, or is it that when you have tabletop airports, you've got to make sure that there are certain specific safety measures put in place?
Yeah. First of all, the expression tabletop runway is only used in India. The terrain is not a consideration. But even in the world, what you have to see is that if you do not conform to safety measures, the judiciary comes down. Like take the Sao Paulo overrun in 2007. In the investigation, they found there were rubber deposits, that they did not have the sufficient safety margin. And the judge came down hard, and the head of the airport and the DGCA were jailed. Now, we don't have such kind of action here, because take Mangalore. You give 20 lakhs to a dead passenger, and then everything is forgotten. Have they done anything? Nothing. So unless you have punitive action against accountable managers for the airline, for the DGCA and Airport Authority, if they do infringements on safety, an accident takes place and lives are lost, they should be jailed. Only then they will wake up and correct those.
Captain Manik, do you also believe that there is not enough accountability in our system?
Yes, sir, I strongly believe there is no accountability in this situation, what is going on in our country. Unfortunately, I have flown in a number of countries, in foreign countries, a number of runways which are tabletop, but still they are doing very good. There's nothing, we are lacking a lot of good.
No, as a pilot, give us your pilot. As a pilot, landing on a tabletop airport, is it a challenge or not really a challenge?
Of course, it is a challenge, no doubt. There is a challenge, but apart from challenge, there are a number of other factors also involved into safety matters. And I suggest we, India as a authority, DGCA and Airport Authority of India need to consider these facts and do the needful for the future to prevent such kind of accidents.
Okay. Captain Ranganathan, I have to stop you there because we're getting a reaction on the other big story that we've been tracking this evening. I appreciate both of you joining us and giving us the latest on that. But the breaking news coming in is that Sachin Pilot has finally broken his silence. Listen.
सुनकर इसका अच्छा निराकरण किया जाएगा। मैं समझता हूं ये एक स्वागत योग्य कदम है। इसके लिए मैं कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष का धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं।
व्यक्तिगत हमले किए और जो ये कहा कि बीजेपी के हाथों खेल रहे हैं आप।
देखिए, ऐसा है आज से 1.5 साल पहले जब हम चुनाव जीत कर आए थे, उस समय हमने कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष को ये निर्णय दिया था देने के लिए कि कांग्रेस का मुख्यमंत्री कौन बनेगा। उस समय अशोक गहलोत जी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाया गया और मुझे उप मुख्यमंत्री बनने की जिम्मेदारी दी गई थी और हमें लगातार काम किया। और मुझे लगा कि इन 1.5 साल में जो मेरा अनुभव रहा वो मैं कांग्रेस का आला कमान तक लेकर जाऊं और मैंने सारी बातें कही हैं। वो आज मैं इस प्रेस या मीडिया के माध्यम से बोलना नहीं चाहता हूं, लेकिन वो सारी बातें मैंने बताई हैं और मुझे लगता है कि समस्या का समाधान होगा, क्योंकि जो सरकार ने और पार्टी ने वादे किए हैं वो निभाने बहुत जरूरी हैं। और मैंने कभी भी सुन लीजिए, हमने कभी भी इस प्रकार की भावना या भाषा या आचरण का उपयोग नहीं किया जो हमारे योग्य नहीं है। और मैं आज भी इस बात पर कायम हूं कि हम लोगों ने हमेशा एक दूसरे का सम्मान भी किया है, लेकिन पार्टी और सरकार के जो हित में था उसको हमने रखा है। और जितना भी लोग कुछ भी कहें, ये बात सच है कि हम लोग कांग्रेस पार्टी के न सिर्फ सिंबल पर जीत कर आए, लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी का काम कर कर हम सत्ता में आए थे और आज हमारी जवाबदेही बनती है कि हम कैसे उन वादों को पूरा करें। इसलिए मेरा आज ये जो आज हम लोगों ने अपनी बात रखी, सभी विधायकों ने रखी, हम सब मिलकर यहाँ पर आए थे। मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ सभी विधायकों का कि इन्होंने बड़े एक खुले माहौल में बेबाकी से अपनी बात को रखा, उसका संज्ञान भी पार्टी ने लिया है। और मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ प्रियंका जी का, जिन्होंने समय निकालकर आज हम सबसे बात करी, अलग अलग सब बातों को सुना और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत जल्द समस्या का समाधान उठाना बहुत जरूरी था। अपनी बात हम लोगों ने रखी। इस पूरे प्रकरण के दौरान बहुत सी बातें कही गई, चलाई गई और बहुत कुछ मुझे भी सुनने को मिला। व्यक्तिगत रूप से कुछ ऐसी बातें बोली गई जो मैं समझता हूं मुझे भी आश्चर्य उन बातों पे हुआ, लेकिन मुझे लगा कि संयम और विनम्रता हमेशा बनाए रखनी चाहिए। राजनीति में व्यक्तिगत दुर्भावना की कोई जगह नहीं है। हम लोगों ने, सभी लोगों ने मिलकर 5 साल तक मेहनत कर कर राजस्थान में कांग्रेस की सरकार बनाई थी और उस सरकार में हम सब भागीदार हैं। लेकिन जब मुझे लगा कि इन बातों में जहां पर मुझे आपत्तियां थीं या जहां पर मुझे लगा कि अपनी बात रखना बहुत ज़रूरी है, तो कांग्रेस के समक्ष मैंने उस बात को रखा। मुझे खुशी है कि कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष ने, पूर्व अध्यक्ष राहुल गांधी जी ने, प्रियंका जी ने, हम सब ने विस्तार से आज चर्चा करी और हमारे जो साथी विधायक हैं उन सब की बातों को, उन सब के कंसर्न्स को हमने प्लेटफॉर्म पर रखा है और मुझे आश्वासित भी किया गया है। मैं धन्यवाद देता हूं इस बात का कि ये 3 सदस्यीय कमेटी बनकर बहुत जल्द उन तमाम मुद्दों का निराकरण करेंगे जो मुद्दे हम लोगों ने उठाए हैं। मैं फिर कहना चाहता हूं, सैद्धांतिक मुद्दे थे, गवर्नेंस के इश्यूज से जो मैं चाहता था एड्रेस हों, ताकि पार्टी और सरकार उन वादों पर खरा उतर सके जिन वादों को कर हम सत्ता में आए थे। और पार्टी पद देती है, पार्टी पद ले भी सकती है। मुझे पद की बहुत लालसा नहीं है, लेकिन मैं चाहता था जो मान सम्मान स्वाभिमान की बात हम लोगों ने करी थी वो बनी रहे। राजनीति में आज 18-20 साल से मैंने जो योगदान दिया है व्यक्तिगत रूप से पार्टी के प्रति, पार्टी भी बात को जानती है और हमने हमेशा कोशिश करी है कि जिन लोगों ने मेहनत कर कर इस सरकार का निर्माण किया है उन लोगों की हिस्सेदारी, भागीदारी सुनिश्चित की जाए। मुझे खुशी है कि कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा जी ने आज जो कमेटी का गठन किया है और ये बात भी जैसे वेणुगोपाल जी ने कहा कि समयबद्ध तरीके से इन सब बातों को सुनकर इसका अच्छा निराकरण किया जाएगा। मैं समझ
So there you have Sachin Pilot virtually suggesting that it is all is well in Rajasthan and that he is a committed Congress worker. We'll wait and see how the Rajasthan pot boiler, whether it has one final twist. But for now, it appears that the Congress may well have saved its government, at least for now, in that state. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.